By 2025, the world thinks it understands Prince William and Kate's children. They call these children privileged, protected, and spoiled. But behind the smiles and controlled appearances is a childhood whipped by discipline, pressure, and uncalculated burden. In this video, we will tell you the real truth about the royal children. By 2025, the idea that Prince William and Kate's children are spoiled has become a convenient assumption rather than a proven reality. It is repeated often, rarely examined, and almost never tested against how these children actually live. The accusation exists because wealth exists, titles exist, palaces exist, but spoiled behavior is not created by surroundings. It is created by absence of structure, absence of consequence, absence of emotional attention. When those elements are present, privilege alone does not produce entitlement. And in this household, structure is not optional, it is foundational. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis do not wake up into chaos masked as freedom. Their days are rigid. School routines are non-negotiable. Bedtimes are enforced. Homework is expected. Manners are corrected in real time, not excused because of status. The idea that staff raise them instead of parents is outdated and inaccurate. William and Kate are directly involved in daily discipline, emotional regulation, and boundary setting. Staff support logistics, not authority. No nanny outranks a parent. No aid overrides a correction. That line is firm. A spoiled child is defined by excess choice. These children live with restriction. Their access to technology is limited. Screens are monitored. Social media is prohibited entirely. They do not scroll through public opinion about themselves. They do not respond to praise or criticism online. Their world is intentionally narrow. That is not indulgence. That is containment. Even their possessions are controlled. Reports from within royal circles consistently describe a home environment that avoids excess toys, excess gifts, and excess novelty. Birthdays are celebrated without spectacle inside the home. Gifts are curated, not unlimited. Gratitude is expected. Thank you notes are written. Public politeness is not optional. It is corrected immediately if it slips. This is not about image. It is about habit. The accusation of being spoiled often resurfaces during public events. A child shifts during a ceremony. A child looks bored. A child makes a face. These moments are isolated, looped, exaggerated, and framed as evidence. But boredom is not entitlement. It is developmentally appropriate. Sitting still through adult rituals for hours is not a natural skill. The difference lies in how those moments are handled. These children are not rewarded for disruption. They are removed, redirected, or corrected quietly. Cameras do not capture the correction. That absence becomes misinterpreted as permissiveness. William knows what unmanaged exposure does to a child. His own childhood unfolded in front of lenses that never blinked. He learned early that visibility without protection fractures identity. Kate understands this from a different angle. She did not grow up royal, but she understands social pressure, public judgment, and emotional resilience. Together, they parent with intention shaped by lived consequence. Their choices are preventative, not reactive. A spoiled child expects accommodation from the world. These children are taught to accommodate the world around them. They are instructed to wait, to listen, to stand back, to follow protocol even when it is uncomfortable. They learn restraint earlier than most children their age because their environment demands it. That early restraint is often mistaken for stiffness or privilege. It is neither. it is training. The structure of their upbringing leaves little room for indulgence disguised as love. Emotional needs are addressed directly, not bypassed with gifts or distraction. When frustration appears, it is processed, not avoided. When behavior crosses a line, it is corrected privately, consistently, and without spectacle. This creates emotional regulation, not entitlement. Wealth exists around them, but it is not handed to them. They do not control money. They do not decide where it goes. They do not manage estates or assets. They live within an institution where ownership and access are separate. What surrounds them belongs to a system, not to them. That distinction matters. A spoiled child believes resources are theirs by right. These children are repeatedly reminded that nothing in their environment belongs to them personally. Even their names reflect this philosophy. At school, they are known without titles. They line up like everyone else. They follow the same rules as classmates. Teachers are not instructed to treat them differently. Discipline applies equally. This is not symbolic. It is practical. It prevents the formation of superiority before identity fully forms. The misconception persists because the public often confuses protection with indulgence. Privacy looks like privilege from the outside. In reality, privacy is a boundary imposed for survival. These children are shielded not because they are fragile, but because their environment is uniquely invasive. Limiting access is not spoiling, it is stabilizing. If these children were spoiled, signs would already exist. Entitlement shows early, disrespect surfaces quickly, emotional volatility escalates without correction. None of these patterns appear consistently in verified accounts. What appears instead is composure, awareness, behavioral control that exceeds what is typical for their age. That level of control is not innate, it is taught. This upbringing is not designed to make them feel special. It is designed to make them functional within a system that will one day demand everything from them. Love exists in this household, but it is structured love. Affection exists, but it is paired with expectation. Freedom exists, but it is limited by foresight. The spoiled narrative survives because it is easy. It requires no analysis. It allows resentment to replace understanding. But when the surface is stripped away, what remains is not indulgence. What remains is preparation. And preparation is never comfortable. Prince George. By 2025, one child stands at the center of everything without ever asking to. Not because he is louder, not because he is favored, but because the structure he was born into quietly bends toward him. Prince George is not described as the best or the most successful because of achievement. He is described that way because the system has already decided that success will eventually be defined through him. His childhood is not measured in milestones like trophies or grades. It is measured in readiness. From the moment he was old enough to understand the consequences, his upbringing began to diverge. Not dramatically, not visibly, but deliberately. Expectations around him are heavier, even when unspoken. He is corrected faster, watched more closely, prepared earlier. This is not favoritism, it is inevitability. He is being shaped for continuity, not comfort. George's life is organized around composure. Emotional expression is allowed, but emotional loss of control is addressed quickly. He is taught how to enter rooms, how to exit them, how to listen longer than he speaks, how to stand still without disappearing. These are not natural skills for a child. They are learned through repetition and modeling. William understands this because he lived the consequences of learning them too late. Kate reinforces it because she understands that confidence without grounding becomes entitlement. At school, George does not dominate. That detail matters. Teachers do not describe him as demanding or disruptive. Reports consistently describe him as attentive, reserved, and aware of others. That awareness is not accidental. He is taught early that people will watch him whether he acknowledges it or not. The lesson is not to perform, but to remain steady. Steadiness becomes the metric for success, long before achievement ever does. Success for George is not applause. It is control. Control over reaction. Control over tone. Control over presence. When he appears in public, he does not seek attention. He absorbs it. That difference separates him from children who are indulged. Indulged children push outward. Prepared children hold inward. This inward discipline is mistaken for confidence, but it is actually containment. His parents do not speak publicly about his future role in detail. That silence is intentional. The knowledge exists, but it is layered slowly. A child who is told too early that he will inherit power often confuses destiny with identity. William avoids that trap deliberately. George is not told he is special. He is told he is responsible. Responsibility shapes behavior differently than praise ever could. The environment around George reinforces this. He is not surrounded by yes men. He is surrounded by structure. Choices are limited. Routines are fixed. Mistakes are corrected without negotiation. He is not shielded from correction because of who he will become. He is corrected because of it. The margin for error is smaller, not larger. Even affection is calibrated. Love is not withheld, but it is not indulgent. Praise is measured. Success is acknowledged quietly. Over-celebration is avoided. This teaches him to internalize standards rather than seek validation. Children who grow up praised excessively become dependent on external approval. George is being taught to operate without it. There is also the weight of visibility. George is aware that his behavior reflects beyond himself. That awareness comes with pressure, but it also produces maturity. He learns early that his actions have ripple effects. That lesson is rare in childhood. It accelerates emotional development, sometimes at the cost of spontaneity. That cost is understood by his parents, but accepted as necessary. His success is therefore quiet. There are no headlines about misbehavior, no leaks about rebellion, no stories of excess. Silence becomes the evidence. In a world that documents everything, the absence of negative narrative is not luck, it is outcome. It reflects a child who understands boundaries and a household that enforces them consistently. George is also protected from comparison. His parents actively avoid framing him as superior to his siblings. Inside the home, hierarchy exists only where it must. This prevents ego from forming around position. Ego would be dangerous. A future role does not require confidence alone. It requires restraint. That restraint is being cultivated now, long before it is tested publicly. This is why he is perceived as the most successful. Not because he excels louder, but because he aligns earliest with the expectations placed upon him. He fits into the system that awaits him without friction. That alignment is not natural. It is taught. It is reinforced daily through repetition, correction, and example. But this success comes with cost. It narrows freedom. It accelerates seriousness. It reduces margin for emotional messiness. George is allowed to be a child, but within tighter parameters. That tension is constant. It is managed carefully, but it exists. His parents know it. He likely feels it, even if he cannot articulate it fully yet. What makes this upbringing effective is not its intensity, but its clarity. George is not confused about expectations. Confusion breeds anxiety. Clarity produces stability. Stability allows growth without rebellion. That is the goal. Not perfection, stability. So when people label him as the best or the most successful, they misunderstand the meaning. His success is not personal triumph. It is structural alignment. He is becoming what the system requires without losing emotional grounding. That balance is rare. It is also fragile. And it is precisely this balance that will cast a long shadow. Princess Charlotte. While the system bends toward George, it does not leave his sister untouched by gravity. Princess Charlotte grows up in a position that is quieter than the air, but far from secondary in consequence. Her role is defined by proximity to power rather than distance from it. In 2025, she is already understood within royal structures as the stabilizing presence, not the future monarch, but the pillar beside one. History has a word for this position, and it carries weight. Princess Royal is not a title given lightly. It is earned through visibility, discipline, and longevity. Charlotte is not formally there yet, but she is being shaped with that path in mind. Charlotte's upbringing reflects expectation layered with independence. She is taught confidence without dominance, precision without coldness. Where George is trained for restraint, Charlotte is trained for assurance. Her presence in public settings is noticeably composed. She does not fade behind her brother, nor does she compete with him. She occupies space deliberately. That balance is rare, especially in children raised under scrutiny. Her position second to George is not symbolic, it is functional. In modern monarchy, continuity relies not only on the crown, but on the figure who reinforces it publicly. Charlotte's role will one day involve visibility without authority, influence without command. That requires emotional intelligence. Her upbringing emphasizes this early. She is encouraged to speak clearly, to engage politely, to hold posture without stiffness. These are skills cultivated intentionally, not inherited naturally. Financial narratives often orbit around her as well. Media frequently labels her one of the richest children in the world. These claims confuse economic influence with personal wealth. Charlotte does not control money. She does not own assets, but her symbolic value is immense. Fashion choices associated with her create measurable economic impact. Public fascination attaches to her image differently than to her brothers. That fascination becomes a form of projected wealth. It is not cash, it is cultural leverage. This leverage places her in a unique position. She is both shielded and spotlighted. Expectations around her behavior are exacting. A princess is allowed less emotional margin than a prince. Charlotte learns this early. Her composure is praised. Her missteps are magnified. That asymmetry shapes behavior. She adapts by becoming precise. Precision becomes her defense. Within the family, Charlotte is not raised as an accessory. She is raised as a counterpart. Her relationship with George is cooperative rather than competitive. They are not framed as rivals. They are framed as aligned. That alignment reduces resentment and reinforces shared responsibility. Charlotte understands that her role is not to challenge the hierarchy, but to strengthen it. That understanding brings clarity. Clarity reduces rebellion. Her success is therefore different from George's. It is not about readiness to rule. It is about readiness to support. That support role has historically been underestimated. In reality, it often carries heavier emotional labor. Charlotte is being trained to absorb pressure without receiving credit. That requires resilience. Her upbringing reflects this reality. Praise is limited. Feedback is specific. Standards are high. Prince Louis. Then there is Louis. Louis grows up on the edge of this structure. Not at the center, not beside it, but near enough to feel its pull without being defined by it. His role is the most ambiguous. He is not the heir. He is not the stabilizer. He is the youngest, the spare to the spare, in a system that prioritizes continuity over comfort. That position creates a different kind of shadow. Public narratives often frame Louis as carefree, the energetic one, the expressive one. These labels are comforting, but incomplete. Being perceived as the light-hearted child does not remove awareness. It delays seriousness, but it does not eliminate it. Louis grows up watching his siblings carry weight. He understands, even if subconsciously, that the system does not revolve around him. That understanding shapes identity quietly. Children who grow up feeling peripheral often compensate in one of two ways. They either seek attention aggressively or they withdraw into observation. Louis appears to lean toward observation, punctuated by bursts of expression. His public moments of spontaneity are remembered precisely because they contrast with the formality around him. That contrast becomes his identity in the public imagination. Inside the family, however, that identity is not encouraged as a role. It is moderated. Louis is not unimportant within the household, but he is less defined by destiny. That lack of definition can feel like freedom or invisibility, depending on context. His parents are acutely aware of this risk. They work to ensure he receives attention not tied to performance or comparison. Still, the shadow exists. It is structural, not emotional. He lives adjacent to significance rather than inside it. The challenge for Louis is not neglect, it is differentiation. He must discover who he is without the clarity his siblings receive. That process takes time. It requires patience from parents and resilience from the child. His upbringing therefore emphasizes exploration within boundaries. He is allowed more expressive range, but that freedom exists within the same disciplined environment. There is no indulgence to compensate for perceived lesser importance. Louis's future is intentionally left open. That openness is protective. It prevents premature labeling. But it also means he must eventually define himself without institutional guidance. That task is heavier than it appears. Children in his position often struggle later, not because they lacked privilege, but because they lacked narrative clarity. William understands this risk. He lived it differently, but he recognizes it. Kate reinforces grounding to prevent drift. Charlotte stands near power. Louis stands near possibility. Both positions carry risk. Both require guidance. Neither is spoiled. Neither is forgotten. Together, these three children grow up inside a system that assigns weight unevenly. One is prepared to carry it. One is prepared to stabilize it. One is prepared to live around it. None of these roles are easy. None of them are accidental. And none of them are free. By the time these children appear in public, most of the work has already been done in private. What the cameras capture is not the absence of discipline. It is the result of it. The household William and Kate have built does not rely on spectacle or fear. It relies on consistency, and consistency is invisible to outsiders. Discipline in this home is not loud, it is not theatrical, it is quiet, immediate, and final. Misbehavior is addressed the moment it appears, not hours later, not excused because of context, and not softened because of status. Correction does not require an audience. In fact, it avoids one. Children are removed from situations when necessary. Conversations happen out of view. Expectations are restated calmly. Consequences follow through without negotiation. This creates something far more powerful than obedience. It creates predictability. Predictability is what allows emotional grounding to form. These children know what happens when lines are crossed. They also know those lines do not shift based on mood, location, or who is watching. A royal engagement does not suspend household rules. A public ceremony does not excuse poor behavior. This consistency is why moments that look like boredom or restlessness never escalate into disruption. The boundary exists before the behavior tests it. Privacy plays a central role in this discipline. Privacy is not indulgence. It is a controlled environment where emotional development can occur without performance pressure. Children who grow up constantly observed learn to act rather than feel. William understands this deeply. His own childhood taught him that exposure without safety creates confusion. Emotions become something to manage publicly instead of process privately. Kate recognizes this danger as well. Together, they restrict access not to hide flaws, but to allow growth without distortion. The children do not have unfiltered access to screens or media. They are not absorbing public opinion about themselves. They are not praised or criticized by strangers in real time. This absence matters. Children who internalize public judgment too early develop either entitlement or insecurity, sometimes both. By limiting exposure, their parents remove a variable that would otherwise destabilize emotional development. Behavior that is later labeled spoiled often originates in environments where attention replaces structure. That is not the case here. Attention is present, but it is purposeful. Time is scheduled. Family meals are prioritized. Routines are protected even when schedules are demanding. This creates a sense of order that does not depend on external validation. The children learn that they are seen at home, not evaluated by the world. Public criticism often misunderstands silence. When a child is seen fidgeting during a ceremony and no correction is visible, assumptions rush in. The reality is that correction rarely happens in front of cameras. Removing a child from a moment without drama is more effective than issuing commands under observation. The absence of spectacle is mistaken for permissiveness. In truth, it is restraint. These children are taught early that their feelings are valid, but their reactions are their responsibility. Frustration is acknowledged. Anger is named. Disappointment is allowed. Acting out is not. This distinction is subtle but critical. It teaches emotional literacy without excusing behavior. Many children with far less privilege are never taught this balance. They are either ignored or indulged. Neither produces regulation. The structure of this upbringing also includes limitation of choice. Choice is a privilege often mistaken for empowerment. Unlimited choice overwhelms children. It creates anxiety and entitlement simultaneously. In this household, options are narrow. Clothing is selected ahead of time. Activities are planned. Transitions are managed. This removes decision fatigue and reinforces trust in parental guidance. The children do not carry the weight of managing their own environment prematurely. Privacy also protects sibling dynamics. Comparison is inevitable in a family watched by the world. By reducing exposure, William and Kate minimize public ranking of their children. They are not pitted against one another by headlines. Personalities are allowed to emerge without labels attaching too early. This prevents the formation of fixed identities that can later feel inescapable. Emotional grounding is reinforced through predictability, protection, and presence. Presence does not mean constant availability. It means reliability. These children know who to turn to. They know boundaries will hold. They know affection does not disappear when correction occurs. This creates security. Security reduces the need for attention-seeking behavior. Attention-seeking is often what the public calls spoiled. The idea that privilege automatically produces poor behavior ignores the role of emotional labor in parenting. Wealth can outsource many things. It cannot outsource attachment. William and Kate have not delegated emotional development. They are actively involved. That involvement is why these children appear composed rather than chaotic. It is why they recover quickly from public moments instead of escalating them. There is also an understanding that these children are not being raised for applause. They are being raised for endurance. That changes how discipline is applied. Short-term comfort is sacrificed for long-term stability. Saying no is easier than explaining why, but explanation happens anyway. Rules are not arbitrary. They are contextualized. This builds internal regulation rather than fear-based compliance. Critics often expect royal children to perform gratitude publicly to prove humility. That expectation misunderstands development. Gratitude is cultivated privately. It is practiced at home. It is reinforced through routine. Public performance of humility is not humility, it is theater. This household avoids theater when it comes to emotional education. If these children were truly spoiled, signs would surface in the spaces where cameras do not follow. Schools would report entitlement. Peers would notice arrogance. Teachers would flag behavioral issues. None of these patterns appear in credible reporting. What appears instead is adaptation. These children function within shared rules. They participate without disruption. They integrate rather than dominate. This does not mean their upbringing is easy. It means it is intentional. Discipline here is not harsh. It is firm. Privacy is not indulgent. It is protective. Emotional grounding is not accidental. It is cultivated daily through structure, presence, and restraint. What the public sees is the surface. What shapes these children happens where cameras cannot reach. And that is exactly the point.